With the evolution of the financial advice market, we've already seen an increase in the outsourcing of investment expertise to fund management groups and discretionary fund managers. The general view is that this is likely to continue going forward. Financial advisors are now experiencing a higher level of regulation, and their time is now more consumed by meeting these regulatory requirements, therefore leaving less time to focus on their clients and other core activities involved in running an advisor business. Advisors who consider outsourcing their investment expertise to a discretionary fund manager for some of their clients could benefit from a specialist client proposition, leaving them to focus their efforts in other core areas. Whitechurch Securities are one of our strategic partners and are experts in discretionary fund management. With the support of Gavin Haynes and Ben Willis from Whitechurch Securities, this CPD module will aim to increase advisors' understanding of what discretionary fund management offers, explain how discretionary fund management works, provide clarity on the due diligence requirements on selecting a DFM, and give insight into the Tenet approach to using a DFM. Gavin joined Whitechurch in 1996 directly from the University of the West of England, where he completed a Masters in International Economics, specialising in emerging markets and portfolio management. Gavin had completed a BA Honours degree in financial services and worked for Sharelink Stockbrokers in Birmingham. He holds the Investment Management Asset Allocation Qualification, IMAAQ, and Investment Management Certificate, IMC. Gavin has been managing portfolios of collective investments since 1997 and is now one of the leading commentators in the industry on fund research. Ben joined in July 2006 from Chartwell Investment Management, where Ben held the position of Investment Manager of the Discretionary Management Service. Ben holds the Investment Management Certificate, IMC, and the Diploma in Financial Planning, and is jointly responsible for fund research and portfolio management. Ben is one of the leading commentators in the industry on fund research.
Discretionary fund management, or DFM as we'll refer to it going forward, is a very topical issue for advisors, as there is an increasing shift to outsourcing investment management. I think there's a growing realisation that financial planning and investment management are separate disciplines. Over the past decade, a challenging investment backdrop, increasing product complexity and regulatory changes have led to an increase in demand for more specialist investment management. Advisors using these services can benefit from active management for clients' investments through tailored solutions whereby the portfolio can be adjusted in response to changing market conditions, but also the evolving needs of their clients. The extensive resources required make it unfeasible for the majority of advisor firms to operate their own in-house DFM business. Not only is there the significant costs and time required to put together a robust in-house investment management infrastructure, but there are additional regulatory capital requirements, FSCS levies, and PI cover to contend with. As a result of such barriers to entry, outsourcing to external DFMs is being widely utilised across the industry. From an advisor perspective, outsourcing the day-to-day investment management will free up their time to concentrate on their own core business activities. In-depth market research and analysis of investment funds can be onerous and time-consuming tasks. To be carried out efficiently, it is a full-time job for a team of professionals and cannot be treated as one small part of the advisory process. DFM also allows advisors to outsource a degree of compliance risk, which is important in the risk management of their business. High-profile cases such as Arch Crew and Key Data have illustrated the damage that poor fund selection can cause to an advisor business. However, it is the client that is of the utmost importance for the advisor in considering the use of discretionary fund management. First of all, it is important to stress that the discretionary management option is not suitable for every client. It is down to the advisor to assess suitability and whether a DFM model fits the client's requirements. Discretionary fund management is not likely to be the cheapest solution. However, increasing competition within the discretionary space has led to some very competitive solutions versus other ways of looking after clients' monies. Despite an obsession with low costs, as in all walks of life, the cheapest option isn't necessarily the best course of action. But the key is that the DFM solution must be adding value for the client. Of course, performance is at the crux of this and must justify any added costs. We'll talk about measuring performance in more detail later, but it's also about providing a high-quality service to meet the client's objectives.
Basically, a DFM is being employed by a financial advisor to manage their client investments on their behalf. The DFM will take control of the client's investment portfolio and make the necessary investment decisions, paying careful attention to the client's attitude to risk and their investment objectives. Before this, though, the advisor has to arrange for the client to sign a discretionary agreement. This removes the process of having to gain the client's assent prior to each investment decision, allowing the DFM to act efficiently and effectively. Before assigning a client to a DFM, the advisor needs to decide what kind of discretionary service they are looking for. In essence, there are two methods available: model portfolios or bespoke portfolios. If we look at the model portfolio method first, this type of service will offer a series of portfolios that cover a number of risk profiles and explicit investment objectives. For example, portfolios can range from those suitable for extremely cautious income seekers wanting to preserve capital, through to speculative portfolios where high-risk assets are used to seek higher returns. This approach means that all clients with the same risk profile, explicit investment objective and investment horizon will be invested in the same model portfolio. With this approach, the DFMs will make investment decisions based on each model portfolio accordingly. The bespoke method involves the DFM taking a more direct client approach. In this case, the DFM acts as an investment advisor for the client and will create a portfolio of investments based purely on that individual client's attitude to risk and investment objectives. Whereas in the model portfolio method, the DFM will make decisions based on the model portfolio for the number of clients within it, the bespoke DFM will have numerous clients, each with a discretionary portfolio that is tailored to their individual need. Of course, there are arguments on both sides about the pros and cons of each approach. Ultimately, the advisor will have to decide which approach is most suitable for each client. Finally, a crucial question that advisors ask is, who holds a client's assets? Well, in most cases, the client's assets will be held in nominee accounts, which are ring-fenced from the DFM's business and which are subject to stringent regulatory rules and requirements. In some cases, where the DFM is being accessed through a platform provider, then the same principles apply, except that the platform provider will be responsible for the setup and administration of the nominee accounts.
For an advisor, using a DFM service should not be viewed as selling a product, but should be viewed as a partnership whereby both parties work together with a view to providing the optimum investment solution for the client. Some DFMs will insist on having the client relationship, whilst others will simply manage portfolios based upon the parameters that the advisor believes to be suitable for their client. However, the advisor should have a good access to the portfolio manager, who should be prepared to hold meetings with them and clients if required. Advisors have the right to expect a DFM to be adding value for the client across a wide number of areas. First, the DFM should be managing the portfolio within the parameters that the advisor has set for the client as regards risk profile and reward objectives. Getting the correct risk profile is of the utmost importance, and this needs detailed consideration. It is important that the DFM provides ongoing active management that is adding demonstrable value with regards returns generated. Investing is a research-intensive process, and the DFM should have a robust and repeatable process that the advisor can understand and can be explained to the client. As Ben mentioned, where the DFM is holding client assets, it is important so that they can provide the advisor with peace of mind regarding where the client assets are held. Advisors and clients find administration to be one of the most frustrating issues when dealing with finances, and it is important that this burden is reduced through a DFM. An advisor has a right to expect a DFM to be providing themselves and their clients with regular quality information flows. This includes offering periodical commentaries detailing progress on individual portfolios, as well as valuations, transactions, and tax information. With more and more financial information provided online, the advisor and client will expect to receive secure online valuations. The DFM must keep the advisor fully informed on the service and in a position to offer any advice to the clients that they feel appropriate, including moving away if they feel that the DFM is not providing a satisfactory service. A choice of product wrappers. DFM is proving very popular as a home for SIPP investments, so it is reasonable to expect the DFM service to be available through a range of competitive SIPP providers. Also, advisors will expect that the service can be held in onshore and offshore bonds and within ISA wrappers to enable efficient tax planning. Finally, if selecting a DFM, the costs should be competitive for the service being provided.
First and foremost, the advisor must understand the dynamics of the relationship between advisor, client and DFM. The extent of the three-way relationship can differ. For instance, the model portfolio method tends to keep the client-DFM relationship at arm's length, meaning that the advisor will liaise more with the DFM. Due to the more personal approach of the bespoke method, the DFM will be in direct contact with the client regarding their investments, and will be able to receive and act upon client instructions directly. In this instance, it is the role between advisor and DFM that is at arm's length. Advisors need to be comfortable with this, as there have been a number of examples where advisors have felt marginalised. The basic rule of thumb, though, is that the advisor retains the client relationship. It must be remembered that the DFM is purely there to act for the advisor on behalf of the client's investment needs. Gavin has extensively covered what an advisor should expect from a DFM, and these benefits must be portrayed to the client. But what the client will receive from the DFM needs to be examined also. To win business, DFMs will assess existing client investments and produce sample reports which will include a suggested investment portfolio based on the client's needs. It is essential that advisors can ascertain where and why the DFM is proposing investment so they can accurately convey this to their client. When recommending a DFM, the key is to shop around. It is vital to conduct due diligence and compare a number of DFM providers. By doing this, advisors could find that one approach may be suitable for one set of clients, whilst another approach may prove beneficial to others. For example, it could be decided that the model portfolio route is most suitable for clients with £250,000 or less to invest, and that anything over this amount is suited for a bespoke approach. A concern often cited by advisors looking to outsource to a DFM is, can they still justify an advisory fee? The answer is clearly yes. The monitoring of the DFM, together with the ongoing assessment and audit of the client's investment strategy, and the consideration of tax planning and tax wrappers are all key financial planning tasks that merit payment. Such monitoring ensures that the DFM is delivering on its service promises and that the client's investment portfolio is positioned correctly and performing as expected. Advisors must remember that if they are not satisfied with either the DFM's performance or service, then they can easily move the client's investment away.
It is important for advisors to be fully conversant with the actions of the DFM they work with, both when making initial recommendations, but also to continue to monitor them on an ongoing basis. The advisor must undertake appropriate research on the DFM market and provide an audit trail of how they concluded the research for selecting their chosen DFM. In many cases, an advisor will use more than one DFM. I can appreciate that one of the big headaches and concerns for advisors is that there are no established independent rating agencies to provide an independent stamp of approval as regard what makes for a good DFM. This may change, but in the meantime, there are a number of factors that an advisor should be considering when outsourcing to a DFM. There are guides such as the Wealth Manager Directory from Citywire, and also De facto produce a DFM survey that can help in accessing information. However, it is important that you know the questions to ask a prospective DFM. First is to look at the track record of the DFM, including past performance. As these are not unitised funds, this can prove challenging. It is also important to ascertain what is the charging structure and is it justified and transparent, not just versus the peer group, but also compared to alternatives such as multi-manager funds or fee-based advisory portfolios being managed on platforms and wraps. The charging structure must also be completely transparent to the client, clearly separating fees that are for management, switching, and those for advice on the portfolio. It is not sufficient for an advisor to choose a DFM and then believe that they have completely abdicated responsibility for the client's investments. I believe that the advisor should have a working knowledge of the investment process, asset allocation and research process, and of the underlying instruments being held in the portfolio. For example, whilst fund selection is down to the DFM, the advisor should be aware if they are using esoteric and unregulated products and whether that is suitable for their clients. A key consideration is what resources the DFM has. How much do they manage and how long have they been offering DFM services? Big is not always beautiful. As with financial advice, discretionary management is a service-based proposition, and it is important that you and your clients can have a good level of contact with the portfolio manager. It is important to ask questions regarding where the assets are held. If the DFM is holding the monies, they should be able to provide a Pillar 3 disclosure, which is a regulatory requirement regarding solvency. Finally, the advisor should ask for a list of link-ups that the DFM has in place with pension and bond providers to check it will fit their requirements.
It is natural that advisors and clients want to see the proof of the pudding, so to speak, and so assessing portfolio performance is crucial. The advisor needs to know whether the DFM portfolio is performing as it should be and within the relative risk parameters. The success of this will justify and vindicate the advisor's decision to go down the DFM route. However, portfolio performance on its own may only tell half the story. What it should be compared to is also vital. A key question to ask a DFM is what benchmarks they use. There are a number of discretionary style benchmarks available, the two most popular being Atkins and ARC. Both of these provide a series of independent indices of varying risk profiles consisting of different asset mixes. The IMA sectors are also popular. However, some DFM portfolios may be managed on an absolute return basis, whereby the objective is to outperform cash, and so any appropriate benchmark may be to outperform LIBOR on an annualised basis. Whatever benchmarks are used, they will have an inherent risk profile and past performance numbers that can be used for comparison. It is imperative that the advisor is happy that the DFM portfolios are being compared to the relevant benchmarks. It is no use comparing a higher risk, highly speculative global equity portfolio against a benchmark that tracks LIBOR. This would be irrelevant from not just an asset and performance viewpoint, but most importantly, from a risk perspective too. This neatly leads me on to the other very important area from consideration, risk. Firstly, advisors need to be comfortable and able to show that the client's risk profile can match the DFM's interpretation of risk and how this is translated across the portfolio. Advisors should take time to understand the DFM's risk processes and how they come to their conclusions. For instance, is any technical data being used, and if so, what? Over what time periods and how frequently is portfolio risk being analysed? Monitoring the ongoing risk within the portfolio is also key. Advisors should ask DFMs about how they monitor portfolio risk, and the advisor should audit this. For example, you should question how often the portfolio is rebalanced to bring it back into line and ensure that this is adhered to. Also, if they impose asset limits within portfolios due to risk levels, then advisors should check that these are not breached. Increasingly, third-party independent risk consultants are being used to measure and ascertain both client attitudes to risk and also the levels of risk taken within DFM portfolios. The end result of both processes means that once the client's risk has been ascertained by the independent risk consultant, it can then be matched to the appropriately risk-rated DFM portfolio. These processes can then be repeated on a regular basis to ensure that client and portfolio remain at the same agreed risk levels. Whatever methods are used, the role of the advisor in monitoring the DFM's ongoing suitability for the client is essential and preserves the advisor-client relationship.
Tenet has a DFM panel which is divided into two types, model portfolios and bespoke services. These panels have been constructed following a comprehensive due diligence process. All appointed representatives must adhere to these panels and need to follow the off-panel process for using non-panel propositions. Tenet Select advisors can get access to these by signing up to the core research package. Tenet's Financial Planning Services issued guidance on outsourcing to and selecting DFMs on the 28th of November 2012. Although outsourcing to a DFM does not usually constitute the personal recommendation of a retail investment product, the regulator expects advisors to have conducted sufficient due diligence to be able to demonstrate that the selected proposition is an appropriate way of meeting the client needs. Tenet's Financial Planning Services guidance provides an overview of the key factors to consider as part of this due diligence process. I hope you found this session useful. Thank you very much for watching.